Good morning. Although we've already introduced you to what Oxford is, we are going to be taking it again this morning, and I'm just going to walk through a few things that will make you, uh, identify the Oxford shoe as as it is what we want to do, right? So number one, Oxford shoe are lace-up shoes. They have lace, right? And number two, of course, this is an Oxford shoe that we have here. Unlike many other shoes that might look like this is what a simple, in its simplest form, Oxford is. This is actually one of this is actually the class for some set of persons, right? This very shoe right here with a rubber sole. Uh, it has lace holes for laces, which you refer to as the eyelets. It has closed lacing system by way of this part is sealed because it is under the vamp. The quarter is under the vamp, right? I don't think I have to say so much about that because you know it, right? Don't you? Good. Do you not know it? Good. Um, it has a tongue that is not part of that is not a continuation of the vamp. So basically, for a simple one like this that we want to repeat or want to do again, is going to feature just three things: the vamp, the quarter, and the tongue. Of course, the lining also. But there are three parts: vamp, quarter, and the tongue. This is the arrangement, just for you to know. The vamp sits on the allowance of the quarter, right? While the tongue comes underneath. There's really not so much to talk about here. Um, so we have this last, although the shape here is a little bit different from this. Of course, it's not a little bit different, it's way different from this. This is more round, this is more boxy here. We are going to be drawing this pattern over this with a little bit of modification, and I believe you already know how to draw the references like we have done here, right? Good. So the only part of the reference we have not covered is basically the instep. And for this very purpose, or for this very class, this is how you are going to be drawing. This is how we are going to be getting our instep. And for this last, right, measure from your van point all the way to the edge or to the feather edge along the center line in front. Of which here we have 11. I mean, we have 10 point. No, this step was 10.6, right? We are going to use two-thirds of the 10.6 that we measured here. We are going to measure it upward. Uh, you already know that this tape rule has two-third measurement by way of uh, the size. It's a shoemaking tape already. So you measure your, what measurement did we get just now? Okay, so you are going to measure something equivalent to 10.6 here, which is here, right? Good one. Good. Yes, so this is where we are going to be using for our instep for this very last. Is that okay? It's not that difficult. So once you draw your instep, or once you mark out your instep, the next thing you want to do is to mark a perpendicular line over it. I've already started the pattern drawing. Sorry, it was supposed to be introduction part first, but I've started already. So this is uh, a perpendicular line against this point and this line. You can zoom so that you can see very well, but if you don't have to zoom, it's also fine. You see this dark long shade, please get it now and get it forever. This dark this darker thick line, make sure it stays on the center line, and it could be anywhere, but just at the top is going to touch this your instep point here, or your instep mark, like that. This line should continue with this line and should continue with this, by all means, right? I think this is so anytime I mention perpendicular line, that is what I'm referring to. So this will probably be the last time I will explain for you or to you. So you mark it downward, right? The next thing to do is to mark 1/3 of this line, that is from this point to this point, right? So mark the 1/3 of it from here, or you mark 2/3 from here. Anyone you mark is absolutely correct, depending on where you're marking from. So this the length of this line is is 5.5, 5.6, 5.75 or 5.8 thereabouts. If you divide it by 3, what are you going to get? After dividing, you got 1.9, right? So we are going to mark that 1.9 right here. This is going to be useful for our curve, which is the top line, right? The next thing you want to mark is you want to measure from here all the way to the back here, and from our measurement from this point all the way to the back. From our measurement, we have approximately 11, right? So you are going to measure, you are going to divide that 11 by 3, and you are going to measure from here. Remember, this line from here to here you measured and you divide by 3, you measured from here, right? This line from here to here you are going to divide by 3, you are going to measure from here. And we have 11, right? That's 3.7, 3.7, 3.7, right? The good part is if you turn this tape to the back and you measure 11, you are going to be almost at that point. You are going to be almost there, right? Um, then yet again, you are going to measure from this point upward, right? And you are going to measure what? You are going to measure 1 and 1.5, right? So this is 1.5 here, and this is 1 right here. This is 1, this is 1.5. Is that okay? Um, so this is where our top line now starts from. After all these much references that we have drawn, we are now going to uh, start drawing the pattern very clearly. Now look at the pattern. There are only a few things to draw. Number one is to draw this line to meet here and here. That's the end of the pattern. Is that understandable? It is way more easier than the one you were doing before. But this is what Oxford shoe really is. Once you get this concept right, you'll be able to get any other one. It is just going to be based on increasing complexity and all. So you already know how to draw this top line. That will just be for you to take or measure this, take this line, follow somewhere around here, right? And also curve it gently to enter around here, right? And you are going to curve to the center line, right? So I'm just going to fine tune uh, what it is. So this is our top line. It's as simple as just trying to connect from this region to this region. Very simple, Abi. Very simple. Do you good? So fortunately for us, there's already a center line here. It means you see this line here is already covered. Our our next target is this line, which is already here. Of course, we have drawn and we've entered here. Is where should it stop? That's the next thing to do. And where it should stop for an Oxford shoe is usually about 0.5 above this van point. So just simply measure your 0.5, which is here, and you draw a perpendicular line right against it. Now notice the way my tape is. When I was drawing this one, the line I want to draw was on top of the tape. When I'm drawing this perpendicular line here, the line is under the tape. Please take notes and don't forget. Sometimes it will coincide with this part here. Other times it might not. It's not really a criterion, right? So this line that we drew here is this line, but you notice it is not straight. It is not continuous here. It went to the back. So it means we now have to follow this line a little bit and curve to the back. Usually, before you now curve, you have to identify a couple of things. Number one is where this line is going to end. Usually it ends around the heel, but that is not a fixed rule that it must end here. It can end even here. It can end even shorter. Let me see if what we have can show us a couple of. Okay, for this one now, it's ending. I think just is it just before the heel or on top of the heel, sort of, right? This is an Oxford shoe, and this one is ending before the heel, right? And there's a counter here. This one I can't really see this, and I can't see this also. But basically, and this one is ending inside the heel. This is the heel right here. This is the end of this one, right? So there's no fixed rule as per where it should end or where it should not end, right? So um so you determine where it should end around here. Once you determine where it should end, so for this case, we are using um here or here. So this is what I'm using here. Now the region of the heel is about 1/4 of the entire length of this of the under of the last. So if you measure the under of this last, for instance, this is 27. If you divide by 4, you are going to have something like you have done it right, 6.8. So this is 6.8. Sorry, measure from the back 6.8. This is 6.8. So just draw it outward. So this region is your heel region. You can now decide to put it inward, outward, or exactly on top of it. Is that okay? So That is determining this position. The next one you want to determine is how wide you want this one to be, because really you don't want this part to be shallow. When I mean shallow, you don't want it to be small. That is the vamp coming from here and going like this and like this, right? Right? Because just for aesthetic sake. But if your design warrant that it should be small, then that is what you will do. But if this is what you will do, if this is what you are going to do, it should not be small. And a good guide sort of is, is this line. You can divide this line like this, more like, or you just follow this same line, this same one we used to draw this to, extend it downward, and you mark like half of it. Is that okay? Good. But if you want it to be bigger, fine. If you want it to be smaller, fine. But this is more like half of from here to here. In your case, you might just want to measure. It means our curve is coming and is going to pass through here and end, and we are going to use here. So let's start the curvature now. Of course, you already know that you are going to follow this line a little bit until you start curving. Now, if you divide this region into three portions, that will be more like here and here, right? You by all means need to cross the first portion. You cannot do any curving, because if you do any curving on the first portion, this is what you are going to have. It means you want to start curving around here, which will make this your vamp or your cutter look like V, right? Instead of a U shape. Now, after crossing this no crossing zone, as soon as you start approaching the second mark, which is here, you can now start curving around here, either on it before or after. The longer it takes before you curve, the more straight line you are going to have here before you curve. It's not actually a problem, but you can't come here. Of course, you can come here. If you get here before you curve, that means you are going to have a sharp corner here. There, there's one work like that that I've done before. It has a sharp corner at this point instead of round. So for our curve, we are going to start um you start curving gently. Please make sure your curve is not, of course it's a curve, so it has to be curved, not square. So gently curve around this region. Then as soon as you get to the line, you almost instantly want to cross the line. You almost instantly want to cross the line. Then it's more like you are running here and you fall off the line and you want to try and balance yourself back, right? Because if you follow it like that, then you are most likely going to end here. So you want to come a little bit higher. Then you can now draw and carefully meet the reference you have. Is that okay? So by all means, or not by all means, we have successfully drawn this right? We have drawn everything, just we have not put the holes, the eyelets there, right? This is basically what Oxford shoe is. I don't think I have to dwell so much on the highlights thing because we have done it over and over again. Okay, so for the highlight, your highlight is going to stay on a on a line that is about 1.2 centimeter away from the center line. Am I correct? So mark 1.2 on top of the tape, mark 1.2 under the tape, making sure this is in alignment. Then you go down a little bit, mark another 1.2 up, another 1.2 down. Then you connect the four of them. Fortunately for us, the width of this tape is actually 1.2. So if you have this tape, you can just use the width directly for your eyelets, right? So you can use the width directly for your eyelets. You already know your eyelets. The first one stays about 1 centimeter away, which is this point. The last one also stays about 1.1 centimeter away, or a little lower than 1 centimeter. But for our case, we are using the 1 centimeter thing. Then uh, you measure from you measure the entire thing and you divide by the number of eyelets you want to have minus one, right? Good. So this is 4.5 divided by, we are to have 5 eyelets, meaning we are going to divide by 4, right? So 4.5 divided by 4, that's going to give us closely 1.1 whatever. So let's mark the first 1.1 here. You move down, you mark the next 1.1. You move down, you mark the next 1.1. I hope you know how to mark 1.1. Then the next 1.1 should automatically land you very close to the last one. Is that okay? So we have eyelet 1, eyelet 2, eyelet 3, eyelet 4, eyelet 5. Um, eyelet 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right? The last part will be the tongue. Right? Am I speaking the truth? Good. So for the tongue, your tongue can be as can be one, I mean, can be 0.5 centimeter away from this instead point, which is usually you always mark the two of them in the beginning, Abby, at the beginning of your reference. So you also draw a perpendicular line against it, like this. Notice anytime you are drawing perpendicular line at the top, the mark should be on top. Anytime you are drawing at the under part, it should be at the under part. This statement. So draw like this until it touches the top line. Once it touches the top line, you can stop drawing, right? So draw. Your tongue is going to be like this. You are going to you already know the function of the tongue. It has to be wider than the eyelid, right? Good. So uh this is our highlight. Our tongue should be wider than it, right? So our tongue can be as small as this. If you want it to be bigger, that's probably your own cup of tea, right? So you are not going to curve here. You are going to curve this line in such a way that it will enter the line that you already marked. That's the width of your tongue. So you choose a logical point here that will be able to curve into it, which is around here, right? If it were to be here, then you know you have to go down a little bit to enter here. Am I speaking good English that you can understand? Okay. So it is absolutely not so important to draw it on the last. You only need the top. But just for this is your first Oxford, this is your first proper Oxford class. That's why I'm drawing it. So this is your tongue right here. This is our top line. You see from here to here, you don't need to draw it here because you can always figure it out. The last part is these two dots that has this thread. Almost every Oxford that you see should have it. Almost every Oxford that you see should have it. You can see it here. This two. You can see the thread there. When you move forward, it is also here, even though it is covered. When you move forward, it is here. Can you see it? Even though it is lower here and definitely here. Now, that thread serves two purposes. Number one, to hold the tongue at the back and to hold these two parts together. This part is usually very fragile because of skiving. You see perforation here, brogue, meaning that the integrity of this part has been a little bit reduced, and this part usually have the, the full thickness of the material. So that's why we always have this tack here to hold it together. So this one will not be able to tear away because there's something holding it at a much stronger part, right? Good. So that part for us is usually 0.5 centimeter upward, but it can actually be lower, but definitely not higher. This is 0.5 upward, right? Then you measure 0.5 inward from that point. Is that okay? So this is the position of the point. Now, if you were to do 0.2 or 0.3 upward, it will have been 1, 2, 3. It will have been here, and you mark 0.5 away inside, regardless of how high this one is. Okay, you don't want it to be very close because what point does it make if it is very close? It can still cut off because it's close to the edge, right? So we have these 2 points. Either of the two is very fine for us to use. By the time you get to this stage, the pattern is absolutely finished. There's no big deal, right? So the next thing is to interpret it. You can only attempt to complicate uh, this shoe by creating body parts such as toe cap, wingtip, counter at the back, what have you, putting brogue, and so on and so forth. But in this state, this is the simplest form of Oxford you can see, most likely you can see. Is there any problem? Is there anything you want to talk about? Is there any difficulty as regarding this Oxford?